Start to behave right now.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Good morning and welcome, everyone. We'll begin by asking Supervisor Warren to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Supervisor. We'll go into our next item of business, call to the public. Anyone out there want to address?
Short person here. My name's Jean Swenison. I'm part-time with engineering, and I have both some good news and some bad news. The good news is that we did get the grant that I told you about last time, that for the airport Cienega, and real excited about seeing that and doing a little closer look at things on pictometry. I think there are some other dibs and dabs of Cienega out there that we may be able to encourage and or maybe do some real work on the Rainville wash. That one is the one that it looks like the take from the air, looks a bit like the same type of soil that might want to create Cienega. So we may be able to do some more along those lines. We'll find out from the stream dynamics when they get out there. We've got a year to do this grant. We're going to have our first meeting out there, not with them yet, but just with the rancher, who's Chad Graves, and go out and go look at it. He's interested, and with the state land department is also interested in this. And I invited Army Corps of Engineers guy who I dragged out there once before, and a few other people, and we'll see who shows up. And if at any point any of you want to be part of it, let me know. But again, with that potential of being able to expand the Cienega, you may be able to work on a landscape scale. The other thing, speaking on a landscape scale, the bad news is that I'm hearing things from the Upper Eagle Creek folks and the Blue, how bad the tree mortality is out there. It's 50 to 70%. They've been sending me pictures, drone pictures of what's going on out there, the amount of pinyon death, the amount of ponderosa death. They said they have full-size ponderosas that are just plumb gone. So they are all more reason that I'm working hard to get the wildfire protection plan done, aiming to have that done by the categories meeting the end of February. And I'm trying to turn it into a brainstorming session rather than a blaming session for things. A lot of it's just drought and pine beetles. But with that, I wanted to pass these out for everybody. And I wrote from the plan that I get these districts going out and washed up.
Thank you.
Doing these things. So the potential of another wildfire in RS is unfortunately very high.
Yeah. Okay. Are you done, Jean? You are?
Yes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Thank you very much for all that. Okay. Aren't anyone else called to the public?
Good morning,
Good morning.
Chair, members of the board. My name is Chrissy Coffey. I'm the CEO for Mutual Link. I represent the vendor that has been working on the school safety project, school safety interoperability project, and been invited here by the sheriff to come and speak to the board. So we've been working on this project now for several years. I recently took over as the CEO, have come in to actually address some of the issues I think that have been plaguing the county of Greenlee with this project. At a high level, this project and funding actually started out as a rural interoperability project. And what that was intended to do is to bring together all of the public safety agencies that are on disparate systems, mostly disparate radio systems, and use the infrastructure that Greenlee has, which in some places is very sparse, right? There's not a lot of LTE coverage. There's not a lot of fiber. There's not a lot of broadband coverage that you need to be able to have comms. So really it was to come in and build interoperability across disparate systems to be able to strengthen the public safety, because in rural communities, these agencies rely on the partnerships and the mutual aid that they're going to get, particularly in large complex incidents. So wrapping that around school safety, that funding evolved to school safety. The project was implemented here, but lacked a lot of the leadership needed to get it where it needs to be and to really strengthen the capabilities that would be available here in Greenlee County. Recently, we've engaged with Sheriff Ellison, who's been fabulous in helping to get things over the finish line, overcome giant roadblocks that we've had on this project. Duncan, for example, has been installed for years. Superintendent there is anxious and eager, constantly pings us, ready to use the system. And it was really a vendor issue with the IT department that we could not get past until just last week when the sheriff got involved. And now we're getting over that hump so we can actually operationalize the system for them. So just wanted to come out, introduce myself, potentially put out there if there's an opportunity to come to a longer form presentation, explain who all the entities and partners are on the system that have the capability to bridge not just radios, but radios over broadband. So it helps leverage whether or not they're using AT&T or FirstNet or Verizon. Being able to bring those radio systems together in disparate conditions can then be used as dual infrastructure, not just for school safety, but for flash flooding, search and rescue. I mean, there's a number of things that you can use the system for once everybody understands how it's operationalized and how you use it. So this system has been built now across 10 counties here in Arizona, and then also gives interoperability between Greenlee County Sheriff's Office and Graham County and all of the public safety entities then that serve Graham County. So if you actually had a mass casualty event where you needed to actually draw on resources from several counties over, you would now have that capability. So very grateful for sheriff's leadership in trying to get this over the finish line and help to operationalize it within this county, because it's really going to be a force multiplier, not just for school safety, but for all hazards that you try to prepare for from an emergency management perspective.
Great, thank you.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Mr.
You
Chairman.
know, with everything said, we look forward to having you back when things get moving along and everything on there to give us a presentation, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Derek, if you could follow up with the sheriff and her to find out, how we can be of help to assist to push that over the finish line. Please
And we've had those conversations already, but we'll continue them.
continue and then figure a time for her to be able to come back in and provide us a little more detail on how we can help. Please.
And thank you, Sheriff, for working with her hand in hand and all this.
Yeah.
And let's get Morency going. Okay. All right. Well, with that said, anybody else for call to the public? Okay, hearing none. We'll move into our next item of business. The Public Health Service District, the Board of Supervisors will convene as the Board of Directors of the Greenlee County Public Health Service District and will reconvene as the Board of Supervisors following consideration of this following item. I entertain promotion on the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as listed.
I second that motion.
Motion has been made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, so ordered. We will now reconvene as the Board of Supervisors and we will move into our next item of business. The Flood Control District, Board of Supervisors will convene as the Board of Directors of the Greenlee County Flood Control District and will reconvene as the Board of Supervisors following consideration of this following item being the consent agenda. I entertain promotion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as listed.
I second that motion.
Motion has been made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, so ordered. We will now reconvene as the Board of Supervisors and we'll move into our next item of business, which is item number 4. And we have Catherine Edwards Decker, CPA, Financial Auditor Director, Michelle Walters, CPA, Financial Audit Manager, and Erica Vargas, Financial Audit Senior, Arizona Auditor General. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Chairman Gomez, members of the board and county administrator. Can you hear me?
Maybe why she's not coming in. Can you hear us, Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
She can hear us,
Hear
but we
us.
can't hear her.
We're trying to get to where we can hear you. You're muted now.
And I unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Barely.
Okay.
turn up the volume.
Speak with confidence.
Okay, I'll project a little if I can. And we had a slide deck. I'm not sure if someone could load that for me.
Coming up right now.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Well, again, good morning, Chairman Gomez, members of the board, and County Administrator Rapier. I'm Catherine Edwards Decker. I'm the Director of the Financial Audit Division with the Arizona Auditor General's Office. Joining me today in person is Michelle Walters, our Financial Audit Manager, and Erica Vargas, the Audit Senior, who both helped lead and conduct your fiscal year 2024 audits. I want to thank you for inviting us to attend your meeting today to present our audit results, which includes findings and recommendations for Greenlee County. It's good to see all of you, and thank you for accommodating me through a remote meeting option. Next slide, please. Before we discuss the county's audits, I wanted to briefly discuss the Arizona Auditor General's Office's background. The office is a legislative agency made up of nonpartisan staff. We provide impartial information and specific recommendations to improve operations and programs of state and local governments, which includes Greenlee County. We are well versed and follow several professional standards, including governmental auditing standards. Next slide, please. Similar to our contractors' previous presentations to this board, we are here today in accordance with Arizona Revised Statute 11661D, which directs the County Board of Supervisors to require its auditors, our office, to present audit results and any findings to the board in a regular meeting without the use of a consent agenda and within 90 days of the audit's completion. This is a great opportunity for us, your auditors, to be in front of you to provide information about our work and to answer any questions that you may have. Next slide, please. As communicated in the engagement terms and conditions, which Greenlee County signed on June 2nd, 2025, that outlines our responsibilities both over the financial and federal audits. And as a reminder, I will walk through some of our responsibilities with you, followed by some of the county's responsibilities. As the auditor, our responsibility is to plan and conduct the audit of the county's financial statements and federal compliance audit in accordance with U.S. generally accepted auditing standards, government auditing standards, and uniform guidance. We have a responsibility to obtain reasonable assurance on whether the county's financial statements are free of material misstatement. And while reasonable assurance is high, it is not an absolute level of assurance. With that being said, the risk of not identifying material misstatements and noncompliance is higher due to fraud than for error, because fraud may include a collaborative effort to commit fraud, management not using or bypassing and overriding internal control procedures, and other complex factors. Through the course of our audit, we consider internal controls relevant to the county's preparation and fair presentation of its financial statements. And then we design appropriate audit procedures. Through the course of our audit, we perform a variety of tests of the county's controls and compliance with certain provisions of law, regulations, contracts, and grant agreements. We communicate significant matters for both the financial statement and federal compliance audit. This is completed through our communications you receive directly from our office, as well as conversations with management. We express our opinions concerning whether the county's financial statements and schedule of federal awards were presented fairly in all material respects. And finally, we report on internal control deficiencies and instances of noncompliance that we find. Next slide, please. Similar to our responsibilities as your auditors, the county's management has responsibilities that we also outline in the audit terms and conditions, and I would like to highlight a few for you today. The county has the responsibility to prepare and fairly present the financial statements, related note disclosures, and all accompanying information in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and the uniform guidance. Design, implement, and maintain a system of internal control, specifically internal controls pertaining to the financial statement preparation and the prevention and detection of fraud, illegal acts, violations of contracts or grant agreements, and waste and abuse. Evaluate and monitor the county's compliance with laws and regulations, contracts, and grant agreements that have a material and direct effect on the county's financial statements. Follow up and take corrective action on any audit findings, which includes preparing the county's responsible officials' views concerning the findings, conclusions, and recommendations, a corrective action plan, and a summary schedule of its prior audit findings. Also, providing auditors with unrestricted access to staff, documentation, information systems, and any resources necessary to complete the audit. This also includes meeting deadlines that were previously agreed upon at the start of the audit. Next slide, please. Today, we will be discussing our audit results on 3 required annual reports: the county's annual financial report, the report on internal control and on compliance, and the federal single audit report. When your annual reports were completed, we sent each of you a link to these reports in an email dated December 4th, 2025. The 3 annual reports were issued together as one report, the annual financial and single audit report. The first report in the combined reporting package, the county's annual financial report, presents the county's annual financial statements and our opinion on them. As I mentioned on an earlier slide, the audit's objective is to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement and to issue a report that includes our opinion. For fiscal year 2024, we modified our opinion over capital assets for equipment and machinery in the governmental activities, and also modified our opinion over supplies inventory in the other aggregated fund information because we were not able to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence over those balances. For the rest of the financial statements, we've reported an unmodified or clean opinion. We discussed and reviewed our opinions with management prior to issuing your reports. The second report in the reporting package is the report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters. And this is where we report any findings and recommendations from our audit of the county's financial statements. Erica will be discussing the details of those financial statement findings and recommendations later in this presentation, some of which relate to the opinion modification I just discussed, as well as some other items that we noted. Finally, the third and final report is the federal single audit report, and it includes our assessment of the county's compliance with federal program requirements over each federal program that we are required to audit. The objective of this audit, again, is to obtain reasonable assurance, but whether the county materially complied with the program requirements of those federal programs. We issued clean opinions over both of the federal programs that we audited, and we did note one finding, which Michelle Walters will discuss towards the end of this presentation. So to summarize, for the fiscal year 2024, we reported 7 findings, and I will now turn it over to Michelle Walters, who will present the county's fiscal year 2024 financial highlights.
Okay, next slide, please. Sorry. Good morning, Chairman Gomez, board members. My name's Michelle Walters, and I'm the financial audit manager assigned to the county's audits. And this is my first time presenting to the board here, and I'm very excited to be here.
Morning.
Good morning. Yes, that looks good. Thank you. Because we know these reports can be kind of detailed and complex, we also prepare an audit report highlights, which is a 3-page summary that you received when we sent the email back on December 4th. And the highlights include the county's largest primary revenue sources and how the county uses those monies over the last 10 years, as well as some of our key findings and recommendations. I would like to take the opportunity to present some key financial information for the county over the last 5 years included in the highlights. This graph illustrates the 4 main sources of revenue, and those continue to be the federal and state grants, shared state sales taxes, county property taxes, and county sales taxes. As you can see from the graph, 2 of the county's 4 main revenue sources have remained pretty consistent over the last 5 years, whereas the county's federal and state grants and programs decreased by approximately $1 million from fiscal year 23 to fiscal year 24 due to reductions in federal funding related to both COVID and non-COVID grants, but is still 22% greater than it was 5 years ago. Further, shared state sales taxes increased since fiscal year 2020, with a significant spike in fiscal years 21 to 22. Next slide, please. And then, as you can see from this graph, the county's 4 primary expense purposes consist of general government, public safety, health and welfare, and highways and streets. While health and welfare remained relatively constant over the last 5 years, general government increased by $2.4 million from fiscal year 23 due to higher professional services, health insurance premiums, and other operating costs. Public safety expenses decreased by $3.5 million from fiscal year 23 due to the reduction in the required pension contributions and additional contributions that the county made in fiscal year 23 to the public safety personnel retirement system. Highways and streets has steadily decreased by $1 million from fiscal year 20 due to lower material cost. Next slide, please. This graph highlights the 5-year trend of the county's revenues and expenses. As you can see, the county's revenues, shown in light blue, have exceeded expenses, which are in dark blue, since fiscal year 2020. Also, as you can see from the black line, the county's net position, also known as your reserves, has increased every fiscal year since 2020. Most importantly, the county's overall net position increased by nearly $19.8 million, or 336% since fiscal year 2020. Specifically, the total net position for the county was $25.7 million as of June 30th, 2024. It's important to note that not all the net position balance was spendable at the end of the fiscal year, however, because $15.4 million of this balance is either restricted by external parties or is in not spendable form. That leaves an unrestricted balance in net position of $10.3 million. Next slide, please. Finally, I would like to highlight the county's federal expenditures that are presented each year in the single audit report. You can see from the table over the last 5 years that the 3 largest federal agencies the county received grants from were the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Treasury, and the Department of Health and Human Services. There was also substantial increases in federal expenditures starting in fiscal year 2021 before beginning to fall again in fiscal year 2024. And as I mentioned earlier, these large increases were primarily because of COVID-19 assistance monies the county received, including the Coronavirus Relief Fund, the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, and the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund. The COVID-19 grants are for a limited time, and most likely the county's federal grants and expenditures will reduce to historic levels when the current projects are completed. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Erica, and she will review the 6 financial statement findings and recommendations reported in our 2024 report.
Well, good morning. Good morning, Chairman Gomez and board members. My name is Erica Vargas. I am the senior auditor assigned to the county audits, and it's great to be here. This is my first time presenting, so thank you, everybody. Before we discuss the findings reported to the for the fiscal year 2024 audits, we would like to acknowledge the county's progress in correcting prior year audit findings. The county reported status of fully corrected for 4 out of 9 prior year audit findings, starting with finding 2023-001, which identified nearly $166,000 in unreconciled and unrecorded cash balances due to lack of monitoring of cash accounts recorded in both the treasurer's and the county's general ledger. The county also reported the status of fully corrected for finding 2023-102, which identified $331,609 in expenditures that should have been recorded in its quarterly and annual compliance reports submitted in 2023 for the COVID-19 state and local fiscal recovery funds program. Additionally, the county reported the status of fully corrected for finding 2022-1102, which identified an internal control deficiency in tracking program expenditures paid with Forest Services Schools and Roads funding, recorded in the road fund. Lastly, the county reported the status of fully corrected for finding 2021-101, which identified an internal control deficiency on tracking payroll costs charged to the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Program. The county reported the status of 5 prior year audit findings as not corrected. We reported findings in the current year's report on internal control and compliance that are similar to prior year findings 2023-001, 2023-003, 2023-004, 2023-005, and 2023-101, which I will discuss shortly. The summary, now moving on to the next slide. Okay. Now moving on to our audit findings and recommendations. The report on internal control and compliance is where you will find the financial statement findings along with the county's responses to them. The first financial statement finding identified the county's late issuance of its annual financial reporting and misstatements and misclassifications in its initial financial statements. Specifically, the county issued the report 8 months later than required by GAAP, and the county's initial financial statements contain errors we identified and recommended the county to correct. To correct this finding, we recommend the county issue the county's annual financial report by the statutory deadline. Prepare accurate and complete financial statements and other key financial information in accordance with GAAP, and provide these to the auditors by agreed upon deadlines. Develop and implement written policies and procedures for preparing its financial statements in accordance with GAAP, as well as for controlling, safeguarding, and reporting capital assets. This finding is similar to the finding 2023-003 and was initially reported in fiscal year 2023. The county reported that it anticipates correcting this finding and implementing recommendations by March 31st, 2027. The second financial statement finding identified that the county did not perform inventorying and other record-keeping procedures on its machinery and equipment and unused supplies at year end. These matters gave rise to a qualified opinion on the financial statements, as we were unable to determine what balances should have been reported on the financial statements for the unused supplies, and whether any other adjustments to the machinery and equipment balances were necessary. To correct this finding, we recommend the county follow its existing capital assets policy to perform a complete physical inventory of its capital assets located at all its departments at least once every 2 years. Update county policies and procedures to effectively control, safeguard, and report capital assets, including detailed capital asset inventory requirements, such as maintaining evidence of procedures, perform reconciliations of inventory results, tagging all machinery and equipment, assets, and training responsible employees. And develop and implement policies and procedures to effectively control, safeguard, and report supplies inventory that includes requirements such as performing an annual inventory of supplies and materials near the end of the fiscal year. Describe inventory procedures to follow by responsible individuals and maintain detailed inventory records. The county reported that it anticipates correcting this finding and implementing recommendations by March 31st, 2027. The third financial statement finding identified that the county allowed 9 hourly employees to self-approve their timesheets and did not require supervisory review and approval to ensure accuracy, including 2 employees who self-approved $71,737 in overtime charges. To correct this finding, we recommend the county perform routine supervisory review and approval for each hourly employee's timesheet to reduce the risk of fraud and misuse of public monies. Restrict the timekeeping system to no longer allow employees to self-approve their timesheets and ensure all employees' timesheets are independently reviewed and approved by county designated supervisors prior to closing payroll. Develop, document, and implement written policies and procedures for processing timesheets and train responsible employees on them. The county reported that it anticipates correcting this finding and implementing recommendations by November 30th, 2025. Next. The fourth financial statement finding identified that the county paid $53,704 for meals, lodging, and other expenses using credit cards without complying with policies and procedures and did not ensure 1,249 of these purchases were for authorized business purposes. To correct this finding, we recommend the county require credit card holders follow the county's policies and procedures to obtain prior approval from authorized personnel before making purchases. Limit meals and lodging costs to maximum allowable rates, and submit receipts for all purchases within 5 business days. Update and implement changes to existing county policy to include unallowable uses, require documentation of prior and post approvals, required periodic training for cardholders, and require cardholders to sign and acknowledge an acknowledgement form stating they agreed to follow the county policies related to credit card use. The county reported that it anticipates correcting this finding and implementing recommendations by November 30th, 2025. The fifth financial statement finding, identified that the county's deficiencies in its processes for managing and documenting its risks may put its operations and IT systems and data at unintended and unnecessary risk of potential harm. To correct this finding, we recommend that the county develop, document, and implement policies and procedures to effectively monitor contracted professional support services received to ensure they adhere to contract terms and fulfill the county's needs. Perform an annual entity-wide IT risk assessment process that includes evaluating and documenting risks and safeguards. Evaluate and manage the risks of holding sensitive information by identifying, classifying, and inventorying the information the county holds to assess whether stronger access and security controls may be needed to protect data in accordance with the state statutes and federal regulations. Evaluate and determine the critical organization functions and IT systems that would need to be restored quickly, given the potential impact disasters or other IT system interruptions could have on the organization's operations, such as public safety, payroll, and accounting, and determine how to prioritize and plan for recovery. The county anticipates correcting this finding and implement a recommendation by March 31st, 2027. The sixth financial statement finding identified that the county's control procedures over IT systems and data were not sufficient, which increases the risk that the county may not adequately protect those systems and data. To correct this finding, we recommend the county develop, document, and implement policies and procedures to effectively monitor contracted professional support services received to ensure they adhere to the contract terms and fulfill the county's needs. Develop, document, and implement processes to restrict access that include reviewing employee user access, removing terminated employees' IT access, and enhancing authentication requirements. Develop, document, and implement processes to manage system configurations and changes to include establishing and following a change management process, reviewing changes for appropriateness and testing changes prior to implementation. Develop, document, and implement processes to secure systems and data to include performing logging and monitoring of key user activity, implementing a system incident response plan, and providing ongoing employee training on IT systems, security and IT security risks, and the responsibilities in protecting county systems and data. Develop, document, and implement processes to ensure operations continue to include updating and testing the county's contingency plan and training responsible staff for implementing that contingency plan. The county reported that it anticipates correcting this finding and implementing recommendations by March 31st, 2027. I will hand it back to Michelle. Michelle. Yeah. All right, thank you so much.
And then I will just quickly review the single audit finding. And that is related again to the timeliness. The county did not submit its June 30th, 2024 single audit report to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse until November 24th, 2025, which was 8 months later than the federal regulation requires. So to correct this finding, we recommend the county improve its financial reporting process, as noted in the first financial statement finding, which was 2024-01, so that it can submit all future single audit reports on or before the federally required submission deadline, which is no later than 9 months after fiscal year end, which is March 31st of the subsequent year. The county reported that it anticipates correcting this finding and implementing recommendations by March 31st, 2027. So with that, I'm going to send it back to Catherine in closing. Thank you. All yours, Catherine.
Thank you, Michelle. This concludes our presentation of the county's fiscal year 2024 audit reports, including the summary of the 7 reported findings and corresponding recommendations. Are there any questions that we can answer for you regarding the county's audits?
Anyone have any questions, concerns? Rob?
Yeah, just quick. I mean, we strive to be perfect, and I think we all strive for that. I guess my basic question, I don't want to get into the details, but how is it working with Greenlee County? Right? I mean, obviously your point person is Renee. He's our QB. How is it working with Greenlee County?
Greenlee County has been wonderful to work with. We have received such cooperation from management. Renee has been great. We've worked with Derek quite a bit too. He's also great. And we really appreciate the support that they've given us through the course of this audit.
It's good. All right, good. Feedback I wanted to hear. So
Good.
Thank you.
Will, you have anything to?
Does your organization work with all the counties in the state then, right?
So we have the authority over all of the counties. We do contract some audits based on capacity that we have internally. But we do oversee all of the audits, yes.
So you have an overall view of how each county's doing, and when you do comment, then you have a comparison with other organizations, other counties that you work with in the state then.
Yes, we have knowledge over kind of all of the different local governments. We present all of our reports publicly on our website. If you ever, want to see how anybody else is doing. But we try to just independently evaluate each of the entities through the course of the audits.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Catherine, and you two young ladies.
Thank you for your efforts.
for your
Yes.
diligence to bring things to our attention, and rest assured that we're gonna look into all these findings and everything and get going on making some improvements. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Renee, for
Thank you, Renee.
being that
Yes.
person and being the face of Greenlee County and those interactions. So we appreciate it.
Thank you, Renee and Derek. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we'll let you take a couple of buckets of water with you if you need back to Phoenix, okay? But that's all you can take.
Well,
Okay.
thank you again, Chairman Gomez, members of the board, County Administrator Repier, for having us present these results to you today. And we sincerely look forward to working with the county again for the fiscal year 25 audits. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
And safe travels whenever you decide to leave, if you leave while we're still having our meeting and stuff. Be safe. Okay, well, we'll move into our next item of business. Tony Hines, Public Works Director, and Derek Rapier, County Administrator. Discussion and action seeking board approval to engage in a procurement process to acquire irrigation system and grass for the secondary fields at the County Fairgrounds Park. Floor is yours, Tony.
Good morning, Tony Hines, Public Works Manager. As we completed, or just about ready to complete Field 1, we're ready to start looking into Field 2 and Field 3, getting those sprinkled and planted grass and whatever else we need in there. And we're just looking for ways to go about that to forward, excuse me, to move forward.
If I might add to that, you'll notice that this agenda item is a little bit different than we've seen before. That's somewhat from the lessons we learned from our lighting process. We will be prepared to go out and issue a bid request. We believe this will be in excess of $100,000 to implement the irrigation and grass seeding. Some of the local vendors have begun efforts to find themselves or to get themselves on procurement contracts, which in terms of procedure is much simpler. And so we wanted permission to go out and start this process. We will likely proceed with a bid process to begin with, but we'll be open and looking at procurement contract providers as well. So we didn't want to limit ourselves to one method if one or the other turns out to be the best way to proceed.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Ron.
Tony, what's the scope look like? I mean, what are you gonna send out for bid? Are we gonna, obviously, we're not gonna, probably not sod, we're gonna seed, right?
Correct.
We have that, but I'm assuming, my assumption is that we're gonna put in irrigation, right? Below ground irrigation, hooking it up to the existing system, or is this a whole separate system on a different set of timers and all that good kind of
No,
stuff?
I'll be on the same timer, the same system. It'll just go from one field to the other. But it's all set up right now for 3 or 4 areas, but we're only using one so far.
So the sprinkler system will mirror what we already have on Field 1, the same equipment, the same,
Yes.
same heads, all that good kind of stuff to try to keep it consistent. And that'll be part of the scope, I'm gonna guess, that we send out.
Yes.
Okay.
The initial offering in the paper will be much more general than that, but as the bid specs they will reflect what we've already done on field.
Yeah, I mean, because it makes sense. I mean, if we're gonna maintain them, then we want to have, the same heads in the, in the Connex or whatever that can go out and replace any end. So we don't want to, same size and all that good stuff.
And we'll be looking at, of course, Field 2 and Field 3. The fourth quadrant will be developed later. It's going to be used for parking during this current season. And so, yeah, that's what the scope will be for Field 2 and 3. And we've been given some ballpark estimates that seeding runs about 20% of the cost of sodding.
So I can relate this to this agenda item. I know that we're talking about, you know, spending costs on these other two fields. How is the progression of field one with the lighting and our financial burden to that field? So I'm watching the county attorney doesn't know that I, you know, am deviating from this agenda item, but I mean, before we go off and spend additional monies on these other two fields, I want to make sure that field one is completed, right? And then we move on to the other fields.
And I'll defer to Tony on this somewhat, but I understand the fencing is almost completed.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance this weekend to go down and see it, but Supervisor Warren had mentioned that the fences up around the sides of dugouts are being made and the half of the backstop is up.
Yeah,
As of yesterday afternoon, half the backstop was completed. The fence down both sides was completed. The dugout roofs have been framed. Of course, all the posts are up on the outfield. Will just need to be fenced in. They also said that the fencing for the Little League field sizing would be in this week and completed. The infield's completed with the bases. So according to what, as I was visiting yesterday, they're looking at having pretty much completion of the field by the end of the week. And looks like, as I was visiting with Tony before the meeting today, looks like the electrical is going to be moving in tomorrow, correct? Pending any holdups?
Yeah, I think we were gonna get with Nathan last week, but it got pushed off to this week, so we'll get that straightened out. DVEC has got the poles in for their three-phase to come over. We just need them to swing that around, and transformers are on site, so not have to wait for those. Our lights are on schedule. They're supposed to be mobilizing today and should be here tomorrow. So they haven't changed any schedules on that as of yet. And that's basically about all we got left.
We'll have lights operational by opening.
Yep.
And how that directly relates to the field we're progressing. So we've learned some lessons about how to get this rolled out. But specifically, once again, we're repairing the liner of the storage tank. It's filling much faster than we'd anticipated. We believe we'll be able to handle all of the irrigation quite easily. But one of the reasons we came to the board this early, we're not planning on putting sprinkler heads in the ground next week, but we'd like to be ready to be able to plant, seed this stuff, probably by April. In fact, I was visiting with a fellow from Fertizona yesterday, and with Bermuda, you want to start a little bit later when it starts to get warm, but not so late that it's scorching hot and it's too hot to get it germinated and up and out of the ground. So we'll be targeting the April time frame to get that done, but trying to anticipate those lead times in advance so we can go through the purchasing process, procurement process in advance of needing to put seeds in the ground.
okay.
So I
Anybody else?
believe we're still sticking with the goal of the 3rd to be ready.
Third, yep.
Okay, anybody else? Any more?
Nope.
I've been in touch with the Little League group. They've been updated as we've been doing these Tony's updates. I've been passing along to the Little League board, so they're aware of it also, and they've been passing it on to their group. I believe their practices are starting this week, and they'll be prepared for that date also. So I'd like to thank Tony and his group and all the cooperation we've had. It's very much appreciated, and we'll keep moving forward.
Mr. Werner, if I might, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Werner, do you know the exact date they're going to do their opening celebration or whatever?
Friday, March 6th.
March 6th. Okay.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, I think
Go
it's a
ahead.
good time
That'll be the first game too.
before we go into this. Derek had just providing direction, if at all possible, no, please at the next board meeting, I'd like to have a little update on this project, but not only this project, but our other projects. And we've still got Loma Linda. I got an earful on Sunday, so I want to hear,
Absolutely.
kind of the status of where that's at. Just kind of covering the active projects right now, just where we're at. So we can get some,
Okay.
just make sure we keep them all going. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Tony. We'll move into our next item of business.
On this one.
Derek Rapier, County
We gotta vote on
Administrator.
this one.
We need it. Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
It's okay.
You guys still
Give
vote?
us permission to
What?
engage in procurement.
I move that we engage in a procurement process to acquire irrigation system and grass for the secondary fields at the county fairgrounds park.
I second that motion.
Motion has been made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, so ordered. Okay. We'll move into our next item of business. Item number 6, Derek Rapier and Bianca Castaneda. The floor is yours.
You're very familiar, of course, with this presentation. I'm going to actually start on the county sales tax side. We are tracking almost dollar for dollar against projections, and I'll blow this up so you can see it real well. Our projected income was 1.44 million. On our half-cent sales tax, you'll see that we're actually $14,587 above that projection. That's not a lot in a revenue fund this size. That's negligible. We are actually pretty much on track. If there's anything concerning about this, is the last 2 months we're at 108,000, 109,000. Our monthly projected was 120,000. So some good months early in the fiscal year have made up for these lower months, so that our projected monthly intake from half-cent sales tax is 120,000, and we're at 121. Obviously, that's concerning should that trend continue. This is not our chief income stream, but it is significant. And so if that trend continues, it tends to drop, that will be of concern. It's something that as you look back over the years, it fluctuates. I mean, going back just to 23, 24, we had 146 in one month and 97 in another month. We've seen 82,000 in a month. This, of course, reflects not the mining operation, but what's actually purchased. That may be truck beds, that may be sodas at Circle K, that may be restaurants and dining that enter into this. But it's actual retail sales as opposed to the more broadly applied state shared tax revenue. So if this seems bland to slightly negative, as we switch to our state shared sales tax, you'll see that things are a little rosier here. 770,000 is our largest monthly take for the current fiscal year, almost reminiscent of our COVID years. Obviously, 1 month is not a trend; it's a data point. But you'll see down here what it has done for our overall projection. It's put us at 1.5 million over our state shared sales tax budget projection. That's good. We can't spend that extra money because we only budgeted to what we projected. But it means that we also won't have to look and curtail our budget to fit revenues. So budgeting conservatively, as we tend to do, plays to our favor here. Between that and the 15,000 from the other sheet, we're looking at about 1.54 over projected budget. You'll see it also shown with the monthly. We projected 450,000 per month out of this revenue source, state shared sales tax, and we're actually running at 577 on average. So that's obviously, that stacks up over time. That's better than quarters out of the couch cushions. That means that we can move forward. Austin and Renee and I have and actually Renee's taken the lead on this, but we have projected a preliminary projection of our cash balance at the end of the year. And again, we're in a very strong cash position. The auditor's report, as she pointed out, is for now 6 fiscal years, our cash position has improved with income exceeding revenues every single year. That's an upside. If we were purely in private business, which we're not even in private business at all, we might start to look like a takeover object. But being as that we're in public finance, it allows us some freedom to tackle some projects in the coming fiscal year. One of the things that I've been monitoring is our PSPRS unfunded liability. We knew we left a little on the table. That gap has grown, primarily somewhat underperformance, but also the dynamics of who we have in the department. I'm going to make Gabe and feel guilty here. When you transfer laterally people over with experience, they cost us more. So, but there you go.
But you're well welcome. You're well welcome.
There you go. We're glad to have you, though.
Keep that in mind, Sheriff.
He's worth it. He's worth it. But we need to monitor that and make sure that PSPRS unfunded liability deficit does not become huge. As you recall, we were able to pay ours off with cash, primarily from COVID-related funds. That gift of pennies from heaven won't be coming again, so we need to manage that before it becomes too big. But it's always a good problem to have additional cash rather than not enough cash. And these charts demonstrate that that's where we're at. So, and certainly happy to field any questions.
Any questions, concerns?
Up with good news, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Turning to the legislative front, as we predicted or talked about a few weeks ago, and almost every meeting we've had since the legislature convened, conformity is the big issue, and it's not the only issue, but it is the current driving issue. And I say driving a couple of things. One is driving more division. We have seen this over the last several sessions, but it's more acute in election years, particularly where all of the top state offices are up for election this year. There's a huge push, groundswell push from the Republican side to try and recapture all of those offices, or at least some of them. Even to the point where some people who are running for one office have switched and now running for a state office. But conformity has been an issue. And so I visited with Craig Sullivan about this last week, and we are hopeful. So what happened is in the very first week, the Republicans sent up a conformity bill that said, basically, we'll take almost everything that the feds did in their tax code changes and we'll implement them. And the governor quickly swatted that down with a veto. They began talking and negotiating. They both started putting out press releases about what should be done and what's the right thing to do. In short, the legislature wants to implement almost all the stuff that'll be particularly helpful to corporations and business. Their theory is that if business is healthy, it creates jobs, it makes everyone else healthy. Governor is taking a much more middle class approach. She wants to implement all of those things that are beneficial to the working middle class, believing that if they have more money in their pockets, that will improve overall economy and everything else. Last week, the legislature sent up a second bill to her, which literally incorporated everything. And their stated reason was that the governor, way back last fall, directed Department of Revenue to implement full conformity in your state tax forms. And so that's what's out there. People already filing their taxes and they're doing full conformity. And so they sent that up there. They said it'll be easier on DOR, it'll be easier on taxpayers. Let's just move forward. And the governor said, don't send this to me again. I told you what I wanted and what I won't put up with. That's her letter was just about that tone. Craig believes, and I think he's probably right, that they've now staked out the positions. They've sent their messages to their various constituencies, and they will now start working to actually come up with a solution. What that solution looks like, we don't know. As we were counseled at my meetings, I will counsel you, don't file your taxes yet, because they're going to probably change, at least your state ones. The other issue that has had some momentum, and it appears to be being pushed largely from the federal side, and that is election security. That's an umbrella term that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, but there's a lot of election bills out there. And those bills somewhat reflect pressure that the legislative majority is getting from their federal counterparts. As you're aware, there's a bill in front of Congress called the SAVE Act. There was a great push for that, and in short, it would require identification to prove citizenship at all federal elections. That's not required now. There's an affidavit you sign under penalty of perjury and criminal penalty prosecution that you are in fact a US citizen. The stories and rumors and so forth of people who are not citizens voting are ramping up. We saw this 2 years ago. We saw it in a very, very big way in 2020. And so we're starting to see that. Where does that affect us? The primary has been moved from August to mid-July, right? Mid-July. Our recorder, our elections director are already working hand in glove to try and implement policies and move them up to that date. But as you get additional policies, whether they be federal policies, and the federal push is to get this done by the midterm elections. But whether you change policies or not, it's going to put pressure on our local elected or election officials to implement those. It also creates more noise in the election process. And that shows up in a myriad of ways. Angry people at the counter, understanding, why illegal people are voting, whatever it is. A secondary thing is it also ramps up our need to advance some of our security issues so that our people working in those areas are safe. Like I say, so much of it is rhetoric, but it's rhetoric that creates consequences. And so we'll be monitoring that not only the state level, but on the federal level. I have been very impressed with our recorder and elections director. They're on top of this. They're on meetings with the state every week. They're on top of the changes. I have no doubt whatsoever that we'll be able to implement the changes that we need to. It's that secondary noise and static that creates unnecessary burdens. So there's lots of things going on in the legislature, but those are the ones that are taking center stage at the moment. And happy to stand for questions.
Anybody have any questions or concerns?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Derek. Bianca, where's yours?
Tomorrow, Wednesday, the 18th is ECO and small counties. February 19th is CSA. The NACO Legislative Conference starts on the 21st and goes to the 25th. That's all for February. March 3rd, our first board meeting for the month. County managers on the 13th. 17th is our next board meeting. ECO small counties on the 18th. And CSA on the 19th.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
I believe I'm going to be in Reno on the 3rd.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Warren and I will both be there along with Tony, attending a Western State Sheriff's Association trade show, trying to get some ideas on inmate housing options, security options, vehicle options, first responder options. I've not been there, but Sheriff tells me there's a whole warehouse full of people to tell us what we need. So we might even run into the mutual link people there. Who knows?
The meeting will proceed then as planned on that date without.
And we can zoom in if we need to.
Okay.
Is it needed on the 3rd? Is that meeting needed on the?
I don't know
The
yet.
17th?
I say it's too early to tell.
Okay.
You agree? Because
So we'll start the agenda and we'll start doing it next week.
yeah, so we'll start on developing agenda. Usually we have a deadline of next Monday for that meeting. But if it's not necessary, we would certainly let you know and we could ask.
I think keep that option on the table.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just an option.
Okay.
I just.
Okay.
That's.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anything else? Go ahead, Bianca.
That was all of March. That's all I had for March. April 7th, board meeting, county managers on the 10th, ECO and small counties on the 15th. And then 16th is CSA, and our second board meeting is on the 21st. And that's all we have on the calendar unless the board needs to add anything.
On February 28th, the Greeley County cattle growers are having their winter meeting at, I want to say 10 a.m.
Do you know where?
It's at the Mingus Ranch.
Okay.
Is that the one, Ron, that they usually have up in blue?
The blue, they have the summer meeting up on the
Okay.
blue, but the winter is normally down yonder in the lowlands. Whether that's, you've had it several places, Mingus's this time.
You be attending that one? Mark?
I will. Anybody else wants to go with? I mean, more than welcome.
I'll go with you.
We need to make sure we both, to make a note that if you both attend. we'll-
Oh,
we'll set up
yeah,
another-
better be careful there.
Yeah.
We'll talk further. on
You,
it.
you can both attend, we just need to
Both.
notice it.
Okay. You're done, Bianca, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, our next item of business, consent agenda, entertain for motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as noted.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, nice have it, so ordered. Item number 8, supervisor reports. Gentlemen, have anything to report?
I don't have anything for this meeting. We'll next one, but
Yep. For this meeting, had the opportunity yesterday to go visit with Mr. Juan Siscamonte. And there was $1.9 million cleared for the Main Street project down in Duncan, Arizona. Exciting news, and we're excited about it. He recognized Greenlee County and the assistance with DevBen in getting this accomplished and working together with the town of Duncan in a collaborative effort to complete this. And he let us know that he's looking forward to doing continued work with us. So that was great to hear also. So those were all good things that happened yesterday during his visit over to Eastern Arizona. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, with that said, this meeting is adjourned.